Good afternoon, VV Nation. Welcome to Trending Thursday. First things first, if you could hear me, if you could see me, just put VV in the comment section here. Brian says, how is Glenn doing? Brian, that is not the case. He did have a stroke, though, back in June. The recovery is coming along nicely in the right direction. We hope to have him back. Maybe by next year. We'll see. Troy put in the VV, so it does look like you can hear me, you can see me. Greg, good afternoon. Ryan, VV Nation. Again, I am in Glenn's office today. Hoping to have the AC part we need and back in my office by Monday. So that's why you can see that little gap below the screen. Sorry, my taskbar settings are a little bit different than his. But let's get into the software here. Taking a look at it yesterday, afternoon market action, I talked about the potential for a primary wave down situation to occur, right? Because of the expectations coming off the VectorVest composite 5 days ago. Well, we did get that primary wave down. Not only that, we also have a red light. So you can see the color guard is mildly bullish at this time. VectorVest, not going to advocate buying any stocks at this time. Now, just taking a look here. Before we get into the news stories, look what's moving the market. Look at the hot industry right now. Uranium up over 6% as of right now. And taking a look at the top RT sectors, they're all down, except one. You see the mining here? Up just over 1%. So tonight's presentation is going to be on some of the top mining stocks in the VectorVest 7 software. All right, let's get to the stories here because there is a lot of things going on in the news. Let's see here. Try to get the stories up. There we go. All right. You are on the throne. Thanks, Jake. I put last night video at 1.5 times speed, and it was done in 30 seconds. I told you it was hot. I was to the point. Of course, last night's video was on Netscope. We saw that consolidation with the descending triangle there. The breakout was to the downside, right? And we see the price action of that stock going to the downside. So again, that was the breakout that we were looking for. And it does look, we'll take a look at the stock when we get there, but I think it was about 10% down. I am actually curious what it's doing today. Just want to make sure I put you on the right side of that. Amir says, hello, VV Nation. Market going down more after Fed talk the other day. Looks like the primary wave red and DEW going red. The DEW, actually, that's a good one to take a look at. We might take a look at the DEW here in a few. Now, these are some stories that came out here. We got Ken Griffin knocks Trump's corporate deal, says all of us lose when government starts picking winners, right? A perfect example of this soon. Intel, the government, right? Intel initially popped, pretty much gave all that back, didn't really do anything until what? A private partnership. NVIDIA, that's what really propelled the stock to get over $30. Now I think it's at 33. And I've told you since that partnership, before I was not on Team Intel. Right now I am. And honestly, it's just because of the hype with NVIDIA. I would treat that more of a short term. We'll actually see if that NVIDIA partnership, but the more I research, I did mention this, the x86 partnership to enhance NVIDIA's GPUs. That is a great way for Intel to further their footprint on AI infrastructure going forward. The sound is always low for some reason. We'll try to turn it up here. But again, I am on Glenn's desk, so I know the settings are a little bit different here. So again, we all have a different opinion on, government influence on companies. I don't think it's going to be the best collaboration, right? But this is what it's all about. Intel's collaboration with NVIDIA as game changer. That's what I've been talking about, right? Leveraging the x86. That's what it's about. AMD is now going to be the competitor in this situation, right? Because AMD also does the x86. And on top of that, ARM, ARM architecture, right? These are architecture of chips. So this partnership's could probably put a little pressure on ARM. I put it, AMD is actually down today as well. Not surprised by that, Again, under pressure since this partnership. We're going to take a look at ARM too, because I imagine that stock's probably under pressure. I haven't looked at it, but just assuming there. But here, a little bit more excitement in the market, right? Quantum computing. IBM put quantum computing to work in real financial markets. I know everyone's talking about, the potential for quantum being so far away, even though this may not be the most, technologically advanced thing in the world, you know, just but this is how they're using quantum. This is an actual way. They teamed up with HSBC, and it all has to do, where is it at right here? Real world financials. The bank demonstrated the quantum enhanced models improve prediction accuracy and algorithmic bond trading. So they're using quantum computing, quantum mechanics, things of that nature now to make money in the bond market, right? Look at this, by as much as 34% compared with with standard industry approaches. That's a big jump there, right? And a 34% advantage over their competitors in the bond market. This is a huge opportunity for IBM. Amir says is almost there. His important number was a day drop. Oh, DPO closed. Yeah, DPO would have to close under 0. See here. The sound is okay. Sorry, I was just getting caught up with the comment section here. But there's a couple things here. First thing I want to know, does IBM partner with IonQ or D-Wave, right? Nope. IBM's major player, but essentially, where's it at here? Competitors in the quantum computing market. IBM builds and offers its own quantum computing systems and cloud access. D-Wave specializes in annealing-based quantum computing. IonQ focus on trapped ion quantum computers. Those are two totally different things than what IBM is doing right now. But this advancement in IBM is actually putting pressure on the other quantum stocks. You would think that, hey, bring enthusiasm to the quantum space, but no, I got them on the watch list today. They're under pressure. All right, so let's jump right here. This is another big story talking about, government influences, government buyouts, things of that nature. ALB, Albemarle Corp, right? Stock rises as USI stake in the Canadian lithium firm. The Canadian firm was LAS. Let's see here. In early U.S. trading, shares of Albemarle Corp. Surged by 5-6%. This increase follows reports that the U.S. government is interested. There it is right here. Lithium Americas, right? So now the rumor is, since the U.S. government is trying to, interested in acquiring a 10% stake. Now there's a theory that the government might be interested in Albemarle, and that's why the stock is surging, right? Just based on that theory itself. And honestly, I think it's a good theory. This is the reason why, right? If we're thinking about doing a 10% stake in a Canadian lithium mine, right? Albemarle Corp is based out of Charlotte, it's right here where I'm located. I'm very familiar with Albemarle Corp. Silver Peak, Nevada is the site of the only active lithium resource in the United States. As well, on top of that, just down the street from here, not far from Charlotte, Advanced Lithium Material Development and Lithium Conversion Facility. This is a very important company, not only in the United States, but outside the world too. You see, look, Chile, Australia, China. This company is everywhere, right? I know LAS had a big move, so if you're trying to get in the lithium space and you don't want to, chase after the 100% gain of LAS, just wanted to throw ALB on your radar. I think it has some, pretty good potential going forward. Now, as you take a look here, the next one, since we're talking about quantum computers here, Honeywell, IBM. I've said this before, obviously Glenn, I give him credit. He was on the quantum before me. That's when I was kind of going my rare earths UAMY route. We kind of collaborated there. However, when I was going through the watch list, I said IonQ, Rigetti, D-Wave, all those stocks. So volatile, so speculative, just looking at the VectorVest proprietary indicators, right? So I put some other plays, a little bit safer quantum bets, right? That you get exposure. IBM being one of them on the list. Honeywell being another, right? A lot of partnerships here, but the main partnership I'm looking for, look at this. IonQ, U.S. Department of Energy's quantum in-space collaboration. NVIDIA, right? SoftBank, that company's been in the news quite a bit here. You can see Department of Energy, Global, they got their hands in everything. So if you want some exposure to quantum without the wild rides as D-Wave and some of these other ones, IBM, not a bad one. Honeywell, also not a bad one to consider. And then this is the last question here. Is the U.S. government investing in, I just want to see if there's already partnerships there. I figured there would be. But look, yes, the U.S. government is investing in Albemarle through various federal funding programs. And this has been under both administrations when I was doing the research. The last two administrations, potentially through a strategic equity stake in a related company, LAC. Albemarle is set to receive a share of $3 billion in funding allocated to boost the domestic battery supply chain, which includes facilities, mineral processing, new plants, pretty much everything to make that stock price go higher, right? Why am I going to fight the government, right? The government wants these companies to, be the future and make sure we got national security and all that good stuff. Well, I'm not going to get into politics. All I'm trying to do is make money off of it, right? So these are the companies, or I see this being one of those companies here. I've been talking about UAMY, but Albemarle Corp, I'm not going to say it's going to have the performance of UAMY by any means, but I think that is definitely one to consider. Definitely one to consider on the list here. Sorry, I got to look way over to the right because Glenn's got a different setup in mind for the comments here. I mentioned to Glenn that INTC would be the comeback stock of 2025, but he disagreed, claiming that AMD is the real comeback stock for that year. Well, David, would Intel be in the $30 if it wasn't for, oh man, Joey, you see what happened? Oh, nope. Oh, yeah. We'll have to fix that. I think we're going to have to get rid of this green screen. All right, we'll try to fix that in the background here. And all I'm going to say is, if it wasn't for the partnership of NVIDIA, who thinks Intel would have jumped to $30 or over $30, right? The government couldn't even get them excited. It jumped up a couple bucks and went right back down. So that's why I say, David, me personally, yeah, I didn't have Intel on my comeback story either. And honestly, I don't think it really deserves it. NVIDIA deserves the credit. That's why the stock's up 50%. It was in the low 20s, and now it's at $33. It's not anything that Intel has done. But that's just, my personal opinion. What is it? Oh, this. Here, I got you. There you go, Joey. Oh, hold up. All right, there you go. Joey's taking a look at that in the background. Alfredo says, LAC, should I buy? I'll add it to the list here. We'll take a look at it. But again, I think the stock was up 100. If my math is right, or if I remember correctly, I was up 100%. Was that yesterday or the day before? I'm not chasing that. If you want to chase that, that's on you. Maybe throw in Star Search. You know how to utilize VectorVest for high momentum trades. Albemarle, not quite there yet, right? I think it's only up 5% today. That's what I'm saying. If you try to get in early before the big jump, before, because what's going to happen? I got no crystal ball, but if the U.S. government makes any kind of deal like they did with LAC, with Albemarle Corp, any kind of, real stake in the company, yeah, that stock's probably going to move quite a bit, right? Let's see here. XPEV is looking good in the base. Take a look at XPEV. Honestly, I haven't really looked at the EV too much. That's interesting. We'll take a look at XPEV as well. All right, let's get out of these stories here. We'll close this out. Oh, don't want to close that out. All right. Market's still under pressure here. Look, Dow Jones down 277, NASDAQ down 219. I didn't know about the sell-off, but I mentioned yesterday the chance for a primary wave down situation was very viable just because the, where the bar was 5 days ago from today. So just keep that in mind. Not a good time to be buying stocks again. So if I am talking about stocks, doesn't necessarily mean go out and buy them. Going to be a little bit more defensive right now. The MTI is dropping quite a bit here. The prior low, we actually just broke the prior low. So now the prior low for that is 1.11. So if we break 1.11, again, MTI likes to get top heavy around 1.5, historically speaking. Usually likes to search for a bottom around 0.6, right? We're at 1.18, right in the middle right now. So I don't want you to get whipsawed in either direction. So again, not too bullish at this time. Okay, it's hard to be a buyer of stocks right now. All right, let's go over the viewers tab here. Expand this out. Auto fit. And then let me add LAS actually. There we go. All right. Auto fit. NVIDIA down today, right? AMD down today. Look what's up today. Lithium. Quantum. right? Except the competitors. That's why I put these on the list here. Look, IBM at 5%. Look at the competitors. D-Wave down 7%. IOQ down 9%. Rigetti almost 2%. The more conservative pick here, Honeywell. Again, you're not going to get that, I'm not saying it can't be volatile, but it's typically going to be a lot less volatile than IONQ or, some of these here. So if you're, a bit more conservative in nature, or if you're, want some exposure, maybe like your 401k or something, like a Honeywell and IBM, probably a little bit better, right? But overall, there's some pressure on the market, right? There's a little bit of pockets where there's some enthusiasm, but you can see the pressure overall. Now, as far as growth rate and earnings, let's resort these, see where our top growth stocks are here. NVIDIA at the top of the list. Right behind that's going to be AMD. And then we've got D-Wave here, 7%. Honeywell, 6% growth rate and earnings. Let's take a look at the sales growth rate. Great numbers on the sales growth rate. NVIDIA, no surprise, high, 56%. AMD, 32%. But look at D-Wave, 42% there. Honeywell as well. I know it's not double digits. Not as flashy as some of these other stocks, but still positive forecasted data. IBM also coming in forecasted data. IONQ, that's the highest in the list. I've got the highest potential for sales growth right here, 82%. I like these stocks so far. Now let's graph these. See, there's the real potentials in the graph, right? All right, so here's NVIDIA. Of course, we had a descending channel, right? Now we had an ascending channel. And now we're just kind of piddling to the side, right? Let's go to 6 months. Well, if we take a look at the growth rate and earnings. Tapering off here over the last 6 months. Along with that, the sales growth rate also tapering off. The only positive directional move with the forecasted data is going to be the earnings per share, which is a nice steady stair-step fashion. I do like that. But you can see the, NVIDIA, me personally, is just taking a breather, right? You went from what, $80, $90, now at 176 in just a few months. Big move for the stock. I think it's just taking a healthy breather for the position in general right now. If you're looking for any kind of level here, taking out this prior swing low, just be careful of that 164, because that would put us in at a new low here. But look at the stock, just recently hit a new high too, only 4 days ago. So again, not too worried about NVIDIA right now. It's just kind of moving to the side. But if you start to see lower lows, lower highs, you could do something like this, right? We had a breather from a big run. Then we had the descending channel form, right? So potentially look out for that in the future if we get lower lows. Let's see. Sorry, I had to read the comments here. It's 64% year to date. Want Chase. Only have 25% of UAMI left. Still have 80% gain. Nice job, Troy. Being patient, waiting for the retrace. Hey, patience. That is a virtue. Are we close to a confirmed down? We've got a lot of market timing questions. DEW, confirmed down. I think it probably is a good, appropriate time. Maybe we take a look at a couple of those market timing signals. See the benefit of these signals. Make sure you're on the right side of the market here. David says, I love buying dips. I only buy dips in an uptrending position or uptrending market, right? Because look at this. Detrending? Oh, dip. Oh, that would have stressed you out. This is AMD, right? But when something gets uptrending, that's where I feel comfortable buying a good dip, right? So there's AMD. Still, actually, hold up. Kind of like NVIDIA, just kind of moving to the side right now. And actually looks like its channel to the side is already starting to form. You can see the channel here. So if it breaks out below this channel here, 150. Obviously it depends if you're swing trading or more of an investor, but definitely don't ignore the need to maybe get a little bit more defensive if it breaks this 149 level. Let's see, here's Qubits. Let's see what Qubits is doing. Oh, look at Qubits here. If I talk about this, look at that. Hit that level of resistance right on cue. I'm going to be bearish on it. Unless price actually gets back above this trend line sooner than later, I'm going to get bearish on it. I got a nice 20-day EMA way down here. Yeah, I can't get too bullish on D-Wave at this time. You're hitting that clear level of resistance there. I do like the fact that the 200-day moving average is moving up nice and steadily here. It's actually Looks like it's about $12 right now. Forecasted data rolling over. Pretty wild ride on the forecasted data. But you can see the earnings per share also moving in the wrong direction here. Negative right now. Negative, negative, negative. But as far as qubits, hey, if I helped get you in this trade, when did I do that video last? Yeah, it was before Vegas, I think, right? That's the move, right? Don't get too greedy. Right now, I'm looking at rejection. You know, if you haven't sold it yet, you know, maybe look at take it out today's low, because there is the potential for that price to get back above this trend line, and that's where I think the next parabolic move would potentially be. But just be careful, because right now I am seeing that rejection, not quite seeing that bull case scenario yet. All right, here's Honeywell. Ooh, Honeywell, not looking very good right now. Whew, this is not a good chart at all. Look at this. Growth rate and earnings just flat, 6%. Sales growth rate, 8% here. Yeah, I'm sure IBM's not going to be a very pretty chart. We'll take a look at IBM. Let's scoot back here. I'd have to look at the dividend here and see if the stock's even really worth it. But right now, the stock is completely in a downtrend, so I'm not there for it at this time. As far as any kind of level here, I see a gap. Oh, we're right at that gap, too. Ooh, this might be a good gap fill play, this Honeywell. What's the value on this? Should be undervalued, right? Look at that. Way overvalued. Price action. Now coming back. Stock's now undervalued. I see a good gap fill here. Maybe a potential. But if value keeps rising, and we fill this gap, and price action breaks back above this line here, was it 206? Then I've got price action rising, value rising. Two things I like to see. But right now is not the time, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, so see if it happens, right? See if we get that retest, if we fill this little gap here. Obviously, it's going to be pretty tempted. Think about it. We just jumped all the way down here. I would be surprised if we just stopped right before the gap fill, but you never know. This is a wild market, that's for sure. Here's IBM. I'm not going to lie, it looks a lot better than Honeywell. It looks a lot better than Honeywell, right? Look at that. Nice touches on the 200-day. Nice retest here. Price action moving the wrong way. But look at this. So we got a little bit different of a scenario here. We got a gap fill to fill on the upside, right? It looks like we just filled that gap. We're getting upper wick at that gap right now. So again, I'm not going to, especially with the market, the red light, you know, the sentiment in the market right now, I'm not going to advocate buying IBM at this time, because it looks like the, you know, little short-term trade setup here just finished actually with this gap fill here to the upside. Looks like an upper wick going. Let's see here. I like the rising earnings per share. Yeah, forecasted data, nothing to brag about there. Here's IONQ as well. Same thing with Qubit. Rejection here. I'm just curious. No. Yeah, I have to get closer to 20 days, especially with the sentiment in the market right now. I'm not going to be bullish on that at all right now. I did good last week, you know. I saw or 2 weeks ago, I saw that move on the quantum. But what was that? Oh, that was IONQ Analyst Day, right? So all this exuberance is just from the IONQ Analyst Day here, right? So now we're taking some profits off the table, take a little breather, right? I'm not going to chase that breather to the downside. That doesn't sound like a good idea at all. Let that breather come back down. You got the 20-day EMA around, what was that, $60? So right below that, nice little support level here around $54, $55. So yeah, don't chase this one. I want to chase this one right now. Is it time to buy real estate stocks? Talking about REITs, home builders. We talked about that yesterday. The home builders. I know the sales jumped. What was it, about 20% above analysts. Big surge there. But what I noticed with the home builders was the trade setup wasn't there. So even though the news was there, maybe we'll take a look at. Remind me, Alfredo. We'll take a look at that with XPEV as well. Let's see here. Actually, before I forget, you know me. XPEV. Definitely spelled that wrong. And then hold up. Is it XPEV, right? Oh, wait. I don't even see that symbol here. Let's see here. I'll go back. All right, let's do this. Let's go to industry. builders. See here. Residential, right? So 2 things I don't like about this. Value on the decline, all the forecasted declining, earnings per share declining, all that good stuff, right? Forecasted data, fundamentals, I don't like any of it. Not going to lie. Nothing about that is selling me right now. Nothing about that. The only thing was selling me, what do you think selling me right now on this space? I'll wait for the comment section. And yes, I'll do XPEV. But I thought I was spelling it wrong. Dummy. All right, we'll go back to that one. But why would I get excited about this? Why would I get excited about this space? Potentially. Have it on your radar, Alfreda. A little too early for me right now, especially with the market sentiment. Probably get better deals if you have some patience. But what I'm seeing is a turnaround in trend, right? Look, price action. This is the 200-day, this green line here, right? Price action, clear weakness under that 200-day, right? Coming back a little bit, broke above it. Now I see a retest on that 200-day. So I go back to 3-month. I'm really not going to get too excited for the space in general until price action gets back above the 20-day. Back above the 20-day. Because right now I'm just seeing a retest and it could easily break back below that 200. It's just kind of flirting with it. You know, even that news yesterday was yesterday, right? I would expect us to follow through with that. But again, with the market, you know, the red light, I think it was the BSR column. I know I took it off for this live stream. But I'm not there yet, Alfreda. I would keep this maybe on your radar, but not saying pull the trigger by any means right now. XPEV. I like old XPEV. Let's see here. You know me. Oh, yeah. That's going to come in right at this resistance. I wouldn't give up on it quite yet. This upper wick's a little worrisome. What's the value on it? 545, way overvalued here. I'm not going to say it's bad. I just saw a rejection. Look, that's a strong resistance point, right? Was that $25? If you're not an XPEV, was it $250? It was about $22 stock. Yeah, roughly about 10%, right? I'd give up that 10% for the confirmation because this has been a wild ride, right? You don't want to be getting too close to that and then just get rejection like we've seen before here. But be careful because we got a trend line coming off those highs. And why do I have this line here before? Oh, that's probably why I had a little line back here. That's probably where I got that from. Yep. That makes sense why price action would, move at this level from historical price patterns. All right, let's go back into 3 months here. I do like to trade, but I'm not too bullish. If you're already in it, hey, but I'm not going to chase this with that upper wick. If you want to get into it, at least take out today's upper wick that high, but watch out for this resistance around 25. I'd like the confirmation above it, okay? I like to get that confirmation above it. All right, let's get back to Rigetti. Again, the big move there off of IONQ's Analyst Day. This one here, though, look, is actually starting to come back a little bit. Might go back into positive territory. Let's see what the other ones are. IONQ, nope, it is not. It is a filled-in candlestick. But this Rigetti here, not wanting to just go down without a fight, right? Not at all. All right, here's Intel. Man, I like Intel. I like it. I'm telling you. It's a lot of momentum here, and it ain't got nothing to do with what Intel's doing. It's got everything to do with NVIDIA's partnership. And most people are thinking NVIDIA's going to save Intel. Now Intel's going to be a glorious foundry like a TSM or something like that. Even if that were to come true, I mean, it would take a long time to, build new fabs, refit old fabs, increase their logistic partnerships with NVIDIA's already, established infrastructure, right? So again, I like it, but this is the resistance I'm looking for here around 36. So yeah, if you're jumping in on this one here, again, the stock did a whole lot of nothing over this is last year, 6 months, right? The first news was the government, right? That's what caused it to, get to the upper end of this channel. Second news was NVIDIA, right? That's what caused it to break outside of this resistance line here, the 28.89 level. Now it's at 33. Hi, Ryan. Sitting here in Belgium, Brussels, sipping my glass of Barbara d'Alba. I'm wondering if there are any interesting stocks of wine producers in the U.S. And Bart, I know I've looked at wine stocks before. Full disclosure, my sister's a sommelier. And we did a wine thing. That was with me and Glenn, the Charlotte Roadshow event. And we actually were thinking about doing wine stocks, but none of them looked really attractive at the time. So we'll take a look at that. So I'll take a look at some wine stocks. But honestly, I would get my sister's opinion just because she's like a national sales rep. So if there's anything hot in the wine market or even beer market, she would know about it, Bart. So let me consult with her and see if there's any opportunities. She's going to tell me some companies. I'm going to put them in VectorVest. Look at the VectorVest indicators. Give my own chart analysis. And if there's opportunities there, I'll present them. If not, that would be the reason why. Barbara is a grape from Piemonte. See here. BBAI is following. We'll take a look at BBAI after this one real quick. But Intel, NVIDIA. It's all NVIDIA. Just like SoundHound, just like every company, NVIDIA puts their name on it, right? Still overvalued. Look at all the forecasted data, right? So I like it, but I'm thinking more of a swing trade. And my first resistance, my next level resistance come around $36 here. $36. All right, here's LAC, Lithium of Americas. You know what I like about Lithium Americas? Look at the follow through with that, right? A lot of follow through with that. Forecasted data, that's not why people are buying lithium forecasted data, right? It's a partnership with the U.S. government. Because you know what a partnership with the U.S. government gets you? It gets you the fast track through the red tape, right? Gets you the mine, gets you all the EPAs, the green lights on building mines and all that stuff. And that's why I see the advantage of this, right? One of the reasons why, lithium really hasn't been produced in the United States. One of the reasons why we've had to rely on other countries for a lot of these other materials, right? Because a lot of it can be messy, and I get that. Totally get that. But, you see the state of the government and national security purposes, these stocks, just like UAMY, national security purposes, right? What was, see, that's LAC here. Where's ALB at? I thought we already go through ALB. So I want to see ALB. No, we didn't. ALB. So this is Albemarle. Ooh, see, just like the other lithium stocks, a lot of pressure here. But look, rejection at the 200. Rejection at the 200. Rejection at the 200. Now we're actually starting to get back above the 200, right? That's really showing some momentum is shifting in the long-term perspective here. But again, speculative play. I mean, look at negative growth rate in earnings, negative sales growth rate, earnings per share on the decline, right? And that kind of makes sense why the U.S. government wants to step in on some of these companies, right? China's a lot more cost effective, making a lot more money in China, right? You can see the earnings on this company alone just dropping, right? As lithium prices drop. So again, I'm not going to go off this one based off the, the fundamentals and, forecasted data. This is a story. I mean, it's best case scenario. U.S. government says, hey, we're taking a big stake in this company, and it shoots up, rockets up, right? That's the story. That's what you want to happen. That's what you want to happen. Meta following all week. I think it's time to buy more crypto. Man, can we say crypto a little louder while I'm in Glenn's room or Glenn's office? Or should I just say crapto? Because I'm in honor of Glenn in here, right? And actually, while we're talking about it, we're going to, let's see, what time is it? I want to make sure I got lots of stocks for you today. 234, perfect. Bitcoin, this is the BTC. Look, I finally got a good 200-day moving average here on the chart. This is my level I wanted to stay above right here, obviously. You can see, resistance, blah, blah, blah. Now it's support and hopefully support again. BTC is around $47 here. You wrong for that, right? Stop it, Janice. No, but that's true, though. He always calls it crapto, though. Actually, someone asked me if Glenn, because Glenn did actually purchase UAMY in his real portfolio. Axon, actually, we're going to take your stocks. Actually, BTC. Let's look at Ethereum. All right. I've talked. We're going to get your stocks right after I explain Ethereum here. April, May. What did I talk about Ethereum? That Ethereum has yet to hit a new high since what, 2020, 2021? I know our dad at VectorVest doesn't go back that far. You have to go to a crypto map for that, right? Breakout, huge move to the upside, right? Yeah, I didn't know it was going to happen this quick. You see the detrending line here, breakout to the upside. I mean, it happened a lot quicker than I thought, right? But I did say once it broke out to that new high, look for the retest, right? You know, don't be chasing it way up here at the high. If it breaks a test level, right? And it, you know, anyone holding lift for the long time. I bought some BAG that, oh God, Alex, bullish or bearish, Alex? I literally said I was bearish in the video. It was that level of rejection. Oh. Yeah. I hope that's a bearish one, Alex. Or if it's a more long term, we'll take a look. But yeah, as far as I remember, BBAI, it was rejection. Ethereum, I'm looking for a nice level of support here because this was from its previous all-time high. So if you are thinking about buying Ethereum, you know, I'd look for the pivot off this level by far, right? You know, that's what. Me personally, I was at 45, now it's at 36. Yeah, I like that price better. I bought on the dip. It's bullish. You bought the dip. Oh, dear. All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and get in some stocks here. Let's get to your stocks. Type them in. We're just going to try to get as many as we can here. I'm going to start with, I know there's a couple here. I'm going to start with Axon with the mirror. And which Amir do I have the pleasure of speaking with today, by the way? BAIG. Lyft, LYFT. Someone mentioned Meta, I remember. Mags. BBC. Goog. BBC. And GD. Yeah, I'm going to try to get as many as I can. BBAI. Adore. I see where we're at with that. Adore didn't pop up, it looks like. Let's see here. K99, Adore. ADUR. Oh, okay. So it is there. Cool. All right, let's do this. Mags, BPI. All right, we got Sylv here. VUSAR, Rare Earth. Okay, I haven't looked at that one in a while. Interesting. I always said USAR is like the momentum of swing traders play. For me personally, UAMY was the more of the investment. But I've seen it both. I've said it before. It's volatile and can be a good and a long-term investment as well. You know, so your CDE, Guild. Amir says Senor. SSRM. RG. Serve. Oh, Serve Robotics. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Shopify. All right, we're getting pretty stretched on stock picks here. So if you haven't put one in now, I don't know why you're so shy on a Thursday. The week's almost over. Gotta wake up a little bit. It's almost the weekend. CLV. Clove. Oh, wait, there we go. Clover. Hell, that's an old like COVID era retail stock, isn't it? Cove. All right, 23. Gold is up, but AU is down. Yeah, I did see that. Tonight's video, mining stocks. Top mining stocks and the VectorVest 7 software. Again, gold. Perfect example. A dip I don't mind buying because the overall trend is up, right? But when that uptrend ends, I'm not going to keep buying the dip, right? That doesn't make sense to me. I only buy it. Me personally, I would only feel comfortable buying a dip in an uptrending stock. And usually that dip is at a support level, like you always see me talk about, or 20-day EMA, not just randomly buying a dip, right? I'm not going to randomly buy a dip. It just doesn't seem like a good idea. I see. All right, these are the last ones. AREC, no more stocks after this, please. GDXU and Target. Interesting. All right, that gives us, think of 25. Oh, y'all trying to work me to death over here, right? All trying to work me to death, I see. Top stock in the list, SSRM. Let's see. Let me span this out. Auto fit. Mining. If y'all just gave me a bunch of random stocks, I'm looking here, and most of the top stocks here are mining companies. And no surprise, that's why I'm doing a mining video tonight, right? Especially uranium up 7% mining. And clue, I'm not doing uranium tonight. Uranium might be tomorrow. I was just curious what the upper wick would feel like. But I did do the top mining stocks in the sector. So just, that's tonight's video. So if you are holding a lot of mining companies or thinking about going to mining companies, especially gold, because I even talk about it in tonight, some of these gold stocks are pulling back. So if you've missed on the gold opportunity for the last 12 months, really, there might be some dips there, potential dips in these uptrending gold stocks. So that's tonight's presentation, okay? More screen, please. Head in the way. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Don't move the screen. Oh, how do I lock? Oh, I got to unlock it. There we go. Let's say you don't need to see my big noggin anyways. There we go. Make me little. All right, let's get here. 28 stocks, but yeah, gold stocks. So let's just jump in the charts here. We got a lot of stocks to cover today, and we got 19 minutes to do it. SSRM, new high. Value on the rise. Look, value on the rise. Price action on all the forecasted data is on the rise. Why am I overthinking it, right? Just have some kind of stop in place. And with that kind of momentum there, I'd probably do a trailing stop. And I might give a little bit more wiggle room. Actually, I'd probably give it a good wiggle room so I don't just get closed out of the trade. And that wiggle room really depends on, are you swing trading, right? Or is this an investment for you? You got to ask yourself that. I mean, the stock went from $15 to 23. So yeah, you could easily swing trade this type of mining company, right? Or you could, be there for the long haul, just because I see valuation, I see rising earnings. So, treat as you will, but this stock looks beautiful right now. Absolutely beautiful. Like the chart. AU, again, I cover this evening, right? You see the dip on gold, right? You think gold prices are just going to magically keep going down? I don't think so. There might be a breather for sure. But again, if you've missed this entire opportunity, tonight's video on the gold is looking at buying the dip, right? But look, still well above the 20-day EMA. So any kind of, retest there. This one likes to touch the 40-day quite a bit. So I would probably put more emphasis on the 40-day. So there's a little overextended on the 40 for me for jumping in right now. Forecasted data. And I go in tonight's video, unless that gold stock has great attributes all around, I'm going to pass it. Here's another mining company. And actually, this one's in tonight's video as well. Look, beautiful stock chart up to date. No concerns for these mining companies here. No concern. A little bit of a pullback here, but no real concern. If I had to guess, probably just pivot off the last swing high. Probably right. Yeah, probably just a little pullback right there. Might, a little stair-step fashion. Hopefully we'll get the pivot off of that. Take the next way up. Went into SSM instead of gold. Oh, wait. Let me scoot this over. Oh, instead of GLD. Gotcha. Move screen, please. Oh, okay. But yeah, SSR, mining in general, right? And what I like about mining stocks? And I think mining stocks are, let's just talk about gold for a second. There's so many catalysts for gold to go higher, right? Central bank buying, right? Lack of faith in the dollar, international tariffs, all that good stuff. And with the market pulling back, typically gold can be seen as a safe haven. Yeah, the miners might get a little bit clobbered more than the actual commodity, but still not a bad play. Look, here's Google. Look at that 20-day retest. So, if you missed the big move on Google, again, Google was one of my MagSev picks of the year because of the valuation. You see it's undervalued the whole time. A little lackluster, but now the excitement's finally coming in. Alex, Alex, I'm going to put the inflation in the lack of the trust of the dollar, right? Because why doesn't anyone hold the dollar? Because it just loses value, right? It's a hot potato. No one's like, oh, let me just have $100,000 and let me just hold it till next year. It's a bad investment, right? I'm almost rather put that. You're a guaranteed loss of what, 2-3% right now. Closer to 3% with inflation. But again, Google looks good. I actually like this retest on the 20 here. Looks pretty healthy. And what I see is actually filling this gap. So for the bulls case, I like to fill gaps sooner than later. because I don't want to go too far away from a gap. But this one filled it up, and it looks a nice buying pressure. I actually like that. I like that a lot. I know the market's down. I'm not gonna say buy Google, but I like this little. I like the setup there on Google. Gilt. Okay, shooting star. Big bearish candlestick the next day. We talked about this yesterday. Someone gave me the stock. I'm going to be bearish on the short term. Bullish long term, but bearish short term. Probably going to retest this 20 here and maybe potentially this 40. So as long as you're okay with 1160 going down to about 11 or potentially $10, it's all right. Yet people still holding money unknowing it's burning. Correct. Don't miss cheap CHPT. David, if I get a second, I'll get to that just because we got 25 in the list right now. UAMY, again, I talked about the rejection there. This is the level right here, this red line. And you see the 20-day moving right towards it here. This is what I'm looking for. I want this retest right here on this level. So if it drops below $6, I'd get a little bit more enthusiastic by it. But right now, with the market pulling back again, don't be scared to take profits on UAMY. I don't know where you got into it at, but just be personally, because I know this line is going to go up, and so is the 20-day EMA. And in my video, I said around $6 it would go. So I was like, pretty much said, wouldn't be surprised if price just kind of fiddled around for a little bit, let these indicators kind of move up a little bit more. But price actually did move back a little bit more than I expected here. So again, long case, I'm still going to be bullish on UAMY, but I do still have a feeling there's going to be a little bit more pain in the short term, unless all it takes is Trump announcement, talking about UAMY, and this thing will probably shoot to the moon. But just be careful. I do see a little bit more of a pullback here in the short term. As long as the stores take dollars, I'm happy to hold it and make more of it. Yeah, no, most certainly. I definitely agree with that. It's a great platform for transactions, the US dollar, right? And I'm not going to say that it's not. But holding dollars for long term, that's why most people, even more conservative. You put in T-bills, things of that nature. But just holding dollars themselves. Let's see here. App 11. I see it. Ooh. It broke out of the previous high. Gapped up. I still like it. I mean, look at the value too. Also rising. Growth rate is dropping. I'm not going to be bad, but at the same time, I'm not going to be surprised if it wants to come down, at least retest this 20-day EMA at some point. But if you're in it, I'd probably use Star Search just for this parabolic move. Short term, I could see the potential for a little bit more of a downside risk here, maybe over the next candlestick or two. Long term, I still believe there's a lot of good things for App 11. Just be careful with the valuation. But what I do love is that valuation is ticking up quite a bit. It went from $100 valuation now to almost $300 in a valuation just in the last 10 months. That's a big move for our valuation, right? So be careful of that one. DXU, microsectors, gold, triple leverage, looks beautiful. I will say, if you are going to accumulate this position, I'd rather be getting it closer to the 20 than further away. But yeah, I just see a lot of catalysts for gold going higher, to be honest. Here is Lyft. Beautiful, undervalued chart. I mean, the price action is in its own way. I know this was a great COVID play. Let's see here. Let's just take it a breather. You're not really doing a whole lot. Stock has done nothing. But what I do like about this position, finally, the value is ticking up. Now I actually feel like I'm getting a deal on this position. And look at the break above this 200-day here. Perfect retest of it, right? So yeah, it's pulling back right now, but we also got a huge gap to fill. So I'm not going to be too surprised by that. And look at the 20-day EMA right at the bottom of this gap here. I have a feeling it's going to fill this gap. Probably hit that 20-day EMA and ricochet off of it. That would be the play I'm looking for when it comes to Lyft. Let's see. What's the next one? Meta. A whole lot of nothing over the last few months. But again, a lot of these stocks are just taking a breather. I talked about this like last month. I said, if your whole ordeal was just buying the tariff bottom, ride the swing trade, yeah, you probably should have been taking profits over the last month on a lot of those positions, right? Longer term positions, more investments rather than just the swing trades. Yeah, probably get a little bit more wiggle room to breathe, right? But as far as the swing trades, a lot of these could have been done. Meta, that could have been done. But yeah, I get it. Squeeze a couple more dollars out. As far as Meta though, pressure's on. Look at that 200 day keeping up with it though. I wouldn't be surprised if Meta wanted to come back or retest this 200 at some point. But I'm not going to say anytime soon, just because I'd like to see this 200 day move up a little bit more. Definitely find a little bit more. Finding bottoms can get you burned too. Yes, it can, Alex. Yes, it can. Just like, whether you buy at the bottom of a trend or top, you can get burned either way, right? The only way you're not going to get burned is if you have discipline. That's it. Cut your losses short, because as you know, once your losses amplify, especially over 25%, you actually got to work harder to come back. Think about it this way. If you're down 50% in a stock, you got to come back 100%. Right? You got to do twice as much work coming back. So that's why, discipline. Citigroup, beautiful. Values on the rise, price action on the rise. I'm not going to overthink it. Look, bottom wick 40, bottom wick 40. Bottom wicks around the 40. Nice little bump here, right? So if I'm going to buy this in an uptrending mode, I mean, historically, closer to 20, closer to 40, the better. Forecasted data looks good. Sales growth rate, nothing crazy there. But I do like the earnings per share. Banks have been good lately. I do like this stock. Hit a high a few days ago. And I just like the fact that I see an open body candlestick on a down day today. I like that. Here is bio shares. I like to play support resistance levels, watch for breakouts. Yeah, I am a huge trend line support resistance level individual, as you guys know. Amir says, please don't forget Axon. No, I think it's at the list here. It's just not at the top of the list. Bio shares, biotechnology. I mean, this just from here, look, lower left, upper right, broke the 200, came back for the retest. That's my anchor. As long as stays above that 20-day, I'm going to ride it out for the profits, right? Unless you hit your objective. Lift, we already did as well, Wealthroom. Lift, we have done. So AREC, as long as it stays above this line, you can see it just trying to stay above that line. I mean, I talked about the stock less than $2. That's close to $3. Again, I don't know where you want to take profits, but, don't be too greedy. As long as it's above this line here, like it is today, maybe, I see little bottom wicks, little here. But if it drops much below this line, that upside momentum might be waning here for sure. But I still like the stock overall. Forecasted data, nothing to brag about. But what is this? It's a rare earth play, ash coal, right? So it's in a hot space. Here's Axon. Whole lot of nada. But you see, look, nice pivot off the 200. Strong rally. Took a breather, 200 days catching up, right? That is a perfect setup for me thinking there could be another rally here, right? This is refueling the engine. It's just giving the stock a breather. That 200 days now up here. You can see the price actually stopped right at this bottom of my support zone. But I wouldn't be surprised if price action of Axon comes back a little bit more at this 200 day. I want to see the pivot off of it, similar to this, right? I don't want to see a clear break of this 200 day. Otherwise, I'm going to be getting defensive. But me personally, I see this as a perfect breather for the technicals right here. The stock forecasted data, phenomenal. Earnings growth rate, 28, sales, 33%. I like it. USAR ascending channel continues. Play it as so. Again, you ping, you pong. Don't get caught pinging when you're trying to pong, though, because that will burn you. Don't get caught pinging when you're trying to pong. But it's just an ascending channel. So I'm going to play it like so, right? If you're just holding it, if it breaks this line here at the bottom of the channel, obviously that's going to, get me nervous, right? But otherwise, you see the value dropping, all the forecasted data dropping. This is my swing trade rare earth play. Looks pretty simple too, right? On these two lines right now. And even before, that's why I said this is a nice swing trade here. You can see the consolidation, boom, broke out, and then up to the upside. But I like USAR. I don't like it for the fundamentals. I like it because it's rare earth. The name obviously got it hyped up alone. But I just like it for that ascending channel. It's an easy chart pattern to play, right? You ping when you're supposed to, you pong when you're supposed to, right? Trailing stops have also been a game changer, Alex says. I like trailing stops. Trailing stops for me is like if I don't want any emotions at it and I got a stock, I usually use it on a high momentum stock to the upside, 10, 15%. You could use a ATR, average true range, to figure out maybe if you should adjust that a little bit depending on the volatility of your stock. But yes, me personally, I do. If I'm not manually trading, it's going to be a trailing stop. And I will say I do love our Profit Locker Pro. If you're not familiar with it, Profit Locker Pro in the profile, it is pretty much a trailing stop, but I can customize it to do all kinds of things, right? I can customize it, tighten up, loosen. The trail can move a little bit. Profit Locker Pro, it's a really good one, But yeah, I like trailing stops. Here's the Mag 7. I mean, obviously, we know what this is. And again, the big tech just moving nice, steadily to the upside here, right? Yeah, we got a little bit of rollover in the market right now, but we're still above the 20-day EMA, so I'm not too worried right now with the market in general, but I'm not going to be a big buyer today, per se. Unless, something really in the chart just said, hey, it was more of a swing trade and not necessarily something that's going on with the market. Silver, again, put that with gold, the rare earths, the critical minerals, all the good stuff, all these mining companies. I mean, just pick a resource out of the ground, find a mining company that follows it, and you're probably going to do all right. I mean, I like silver. And honestly, if you're going to get into mines, diversify, right? Do a little rare earth, maybe a little gold, a little silver, right? You diversify with the mine so that way, say the gold stocks get whacked one day, maybe the rare earths carry you that day, right? So you can add, maybe we can look at some ETFs potentially that have more diversification with miners as well. Not a bad idea. But I like silver, I like it all. I mean, look at the momentum. This kind of momentum right now, though, again, if I'm a swing trader, I'd use something like Star Search, right? Stay on the right side of that trade. The thing went from what, $34 to $40. So it's a big move in the stock, right? In just the last few weeks here. So don't lose all that profit. And again, I don't know what your intentions are with this. But as of right now, I'm seeing bullish in a full body candlestick, not even a little bit of wick right now. Mosaic. The only thing I like about Mosaic is the value jumped up. The move is already made, and the move was the gap fill here. You see the gap fill? Boom. We went down, came up, filled the gap. Looks like we're getting rejection at that gap. If price action could still manage to stay above the 20-day EMA, really the only thing that makes me excited here is just not necessarily the technicals, because the little trade setup kind of already done, but the fundamentals. It's a turnaround story, right? Everything was crappy with this stock, but look at the valuation shooting up. The growth rate in earnings was negative. Now it's positive 16%. The sales growth rate was also negative. Now positive 7%. Earnings per share turnaround story as well. So I like that. And look at RT, even a little bit of a turnaround story here. It's at 1.0 now. Was above it there. But that's what I say. It's a little early on it. But as far as the fundamentals and the valuation here, I actually like it. It's a chemical fertilizer company. MOS. Costco, not doing a whole lot. I will say as far as Costco, if it drops much below $9.19, I would get concerned. And you got to ask yourself if the dividend is worth holding the stock that's going nowhere. I don't have that answer. You got to ask yourself that question. I will say stock's overvalued, forecasted data, not bad, 8%. Earnings per share is rising. Let's go about to a year here. But the stock's doing nothing, a whole lot of nothing, right? 2024. Let's go back here. You can see Costco has completely, it went from what, $400 to $900 a couple months. I talked about Costco a lot. This not 4 years ago, so I was only doing this about 2 years ago. I saw it as a consumer defensive play, right? You can see all the premium. Clearly other people thought that too, and the premium is baked in right now. I'm not going to be a fan of Costco right now. And actually, I'm seeing weakness on the 200-day on the weekly chart. Or actually, this is end of day. Let's zoom in here on this 200-day. Let me see what time it is. 2:59. Got to speed this up. But yeah, not looking good. Weakness on the 200-day. URG, your energy, uranium. I told you. Probably gonna be a video on uranium tomorrow. I'm just gonna put it out there, right? If the resource is coming out of the ground, I'm probably gonna be doing a video on it. Mining. They're hot. That's beautiful. I mean, look, broke the 200 day. I know uranium was under a lot of pressure. I mean, Glenn talked about uranium for a while, and then it didn't really do anything for a while. That's why I haven't really talked about it. Let's go to a year, actually. I don't like that chart. Let's go back out here. So, yeah, it didn't really do anything for a while. But, yeah, now uranium, just like any other mining company, should probably be on your radar. Investors are paying a premium for it, not going to lie. Forecasted data, 26%, 124. But think about it, with uranium, majority of the world's uranium comes from Kazakhstan, by the way, in case you didn't know this, right? Well, Kazakhstan's between Russia and China. So again, national security, mines, we're trying to bring this stuff home, right? So I have a feeling this is going to be a player in that space. Got to do your own research, but stock's only $1.75. I'm going to treat it like a momentum play right now, not necessarily off the valuation because it's way overvalued. I'm going to treat it like a momentum play. And honestly, that's Star Search right there. I would use Star Search for that. PPC, Pilgrim's Price Corp. Nope. Rejection 200, rejection 200, down to the side. Look, value declining, price declining. You know that's my least favorite chart pattern. Least favorite. So no, negative, bearish. Clove, told you this was a retail. Look at this crazy stock here. Hey, went from 65 cents to $3. I'll put it like this. If I get back above the 200 day, I'd have a little bit more faith in it. But this is a retail stock. I know a lot of people that got burned on this before. And right now I'm seeing rejection at the 200 day. So unless this gets back above the 200 day, I'm not going to get too excited for it. Neo's Bitcoin high income. Specialty thing. I mean, this went from 48 bucks, 65. You got to look at the dividend on this. I tell you right now, I don't like the price action. But it says high income, so it's a yield probably. Neo's Bitcoin high income. God, these Bitcoin companies. I'm telling you, be careful of a crypto derivative bubble. And I'm not saying anytime soon, but I can just see it happening. And this thing right here, unless that dividend is a good one and very high, I'm going to say no. Big Bear AI, again, Big Bear AI, rejection here. This was the whole premise of the video, right? Rejection on cue. Let's go to 1 month. Let's get rid of value. Just stored in the graph. Rejection, right? Oh, I don't even really, I see indecision. And if I had to guess, this is probably going to be resistance right now because we got an upper wick and we got a bottom open here. I still see it maybe piddling around a little bit. I think that 20-day EMA is going to go above this zone here, and I think I might touch that. But that's just my 2 cents. All right, I'm going over. So I'm not going to be able to get any more stock picks, unfortunately. Let's go to 1 year. I will say this. Every time it gets close to this 40, it's a good time for accumulation, right? If it breaks the 40, we'll buy much, or at least a day, or a couple days. I'm more of an accumulation here. I don't mind dips and uptrending items. Yes, the market is not favorable for it right now. We'll go back to the homepage. But I do like this accumulation here. It's pollution control services. Interesting. But as far as the forecasted data, ain't nothing got me excited about that. Negative sales growth rate. Growth rate's only 1% here. No. I don't like it for the forecast. I just like the trade setup. As long as it keeps accumulating on the 40, it keeps trending higher, play it as so. Once it breaks the 40, doesn't do it anymore, stop it. Target. Why? Hopefully you're short in Target. I really hope you're short in Target. I hope so. It goes up and down with coins. Oh, the Bitcoin yield? Is that what you're talking about, Amir? The Bitcoin yield? Yeah, it'll go up and down with coins, but that yield's also going to kill the underlying asset itself. But, I'd rather just... what we're going to do, this is how we're going to fish today. Is there any more stocks? Target? No. Negative. Negatory. Serve? I actually like this break above the 200 and the retest. As long as it stays above that 200, I'm happy with it. It's not quite the pivot to get me excited. This one was, but we went right back down, unfortunately. So again, serve is kind of at a crossroads for me. Forecasted data, clearly not going to sell me here. -6, sales growth rate 37, but EPS is falling, or forecasted EPS is falling. It's got to stay above this 200. I want to see a better pivot this time. I do like the idea of serve robotics, but just price action right now, pretty range bound. Not too sold on it at this time. This is what I'm going to do. Oh, yeah. 5 years. So this was the cup and handle I talked about. There's the handle, broke out. You see this low here on September 24th and this low here on March 25th? I would draw a line. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing on this chart. Draw a line on these two, right? And then we have a little trend line there. If this price action breaks the trend of these two lows, I'd get a little bit more defensive on Bitcoin, at least in the short term, because long term, I'm going to be bullish on it. Definitely going to be bullish on it. It's clear, it's early, but that's where you get the most gain. It goes, Alex, let me scroll up. It's early. Yeah, it's definitely early. Alex, you talk about early on Target or on Serve? Serve could be good. This could be a great early trade, but again, much below that 200-day. I don't know where your pain loss was. At $12. I mean, maybe 10.50. I think it's about 15% there. That wouldn't be bad. Might not be a bad move, but I don't mind this one. Target, that I don't like at all. That I don't like. Yeah, Alex, that's what I thought you were talking about with Serve. Okay. But yeah, I do like that one. Just stay disciplined on it. And like I said, put you a stop somewhere. If you are thinking about it, I would just think more bearish if that price action breaks that 200, right? Because we had the retest and we're doing again because investors weren't convinced the first time. So if we drop below it, could be a lot of pain. Could definitely be a lot of pain. All right, we are way over time. I got another video today. Tomorrow, we got Power Hour. Power Hour. That's the whole hour. Nothing but your stock picks. So make sure you show up 2 p.m. We're both on YouTube and the community room. So it doesn't matter how you watch. Rick says, all right, so we did have a red flash earlier today in the BSR. Looks like we got 3 yellows right now. Actually, while we're at it, let's finish off at the homepage here. Yeah, 3 yellows. So again, the market's just taking a breather, right? I mean, we had such a huge run since the tariff turmoil. And now, little uncertainties entering the market is what it is. If I'm saying I'm not too bearish right now, stick to whatever stops, whatever place or plan you had in place when you first bought these stocks, right? And hey, if you're getting scared that the market's rolling over and you're up a bunch, maybe just tighten your stops. Do something that you're comfortable with, right? All right, everybody, enjoy your afternoon. Thank you for participating. Again, tomorrow we got mobile live stream. And then Friday in the afternoon, we will have the Power Hour, both in the community room. And in addition to that, it will be on YouTube. All right, everybody, take care. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye.